Hey everybody, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you be in the world. I'm going to go ahead and start this out today. I'm going to say this is unscripted, this is just me, and this is a video. I want to give you all an update of exactly where I'm at, what I'm thinking about at this moment, and where I think things are going, but we'll see where they go actually, to be honest. And so, what prompted this video is I've been down here in Columbia, for those of you that don't know, for a while. Long story short, I moved from New York back to Michigan before COVID, stayed there for 2 years. I met my wife, and we got married in Columbia, and we ended up down here in Columbia, and I'm going on like 3 years in Columbia at the moment. And so it's intense. I've been from one spot to the next, and it's been a wild ride. It's been an amazing ride, but there have been challenges also, is what I might say. And so I want to be authentic with y'all on my channel here because, I believe that's really the way that we can connect for real because I can make a lot of edited videos. And I can make a lot of cinematic looking things. I can teach you stuff, like all that kind of stuff. But actually figuring out who we are, like me as a creator and you as a viewer, or you as a creator as well, like whatever you do and stuff, I want to go ahead and kind of find this way of transparency with y'all. And so, right now, here's the deal. In 2002, I find myself sitting on my ass with nothing. I had a remote technical support job when I got back to Michigan. Because, long story short, all my gigs in New York dried up. I wasn't freelancing for anything anymore because, like, everybody said, no, there's no more work. And even my teaching gigs dried up. That was really rough because in New York City, the rent, oh God, I think it was like 4,500 a month or something for the place that I had at the time, and I split that with my ex-wife, and she paid half and I paid half, and I was really, really, really struggling to go ahead and figure out my way because I was a creator, and as some of you know, as creators out there, like we don't make that much sometimes, really, to be honest. That's the real deal. And so, New York kind of just chewed me up, spit me out, and it wasn't necessarily the worst thing, but at the time I thought it was the worst thing, to be honest with you. And so, like late 2019, I found myself getting out of New York, and I packed a U-Haul truck and I drove 12 hours straight across the country. I slept 3 times or something at rest stops, and that's what it was. And so, when I got back to Michigan, I had no idea what I was going to do. I was just like, well, I'm not in the center, the epicenter of the world, or whatever as they call it in New York and stuff. And so I was like, what am I going to do? Well, creativity saved me, is what I might say, because like I'd suffered from a shit ton of depression. At one point, I honestly thought I was gonna like off myself. To be honest, like I'm good. Like y'all don't need to worry, but I'm good. I figured out my way and stuff like that, and I figured out it really wasn't what I was thinking about. It was the fact that everything just sort of came crashing down at once, and like that just launches you into this downward spiral, and it's hard to come back. And so that's really where creativity saved me. If y'all didn't see, like, I dropped a book of like art basically. It's called Between Heaven and Hell. It's over on my website at charlienaebeck.co. I'm not doing this to sell the book. You can buy the book if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. There's no worries, no hurries. If you do, I greatly appreciate you. If you don't, go check out some of the drawings anyways just to see what I did. It's cathartic is what it is. So like art, when I say art saved me, it literally saved me because it took me to a different place, which realized I could do stuff on my own. I didn't need to like be in New York. I didn't need to be in my ex marriage basically to be honest. I didn't need to be in those places. What I needed is to reconnect and refine myself. And art allowed me to do that with my photography, with my drawings, my paintings, like everything I do basically. And so, long story short, I just saw this dude this morning actually. His name's Sam. I'll find him, I'll tag him on here in the description and stuff. And he did this authentic thing on his channel in there too. He's talking about how he got out of a breakup, how he did like all this stuff with a release that he's doing. He's a cinematographer, I believe. But he's being really real also. And so I wanted to talk about this because basically being real and being authentic, sometimes we don't have all the answers, to be honest with you, and that's okay. So getting back to my story, like art saved me. I spent many, many nights not sleeping because like I just had so much shit in my head that I was just like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? It was eating me alive. And I had another. like dilemma where I basically like had this eating away at me for so long on there that it sent me into anxiety and panic and things like that. And so I played a lot of guitar. Like I've been a guitarist and musician for a long time. You can find me out there online and stuff. I'm on Spotify. God knows what is out there, to be honest with you. But like, you can find me on Spotify and like all the places with music too. I played a shit to the guitar because like when I was about 16, I saw my parents going through some troubles and stuff like that. And I found music. Music was cathartic and got me outside of all the shit that was going on in our lives, basically. And when it got me outside of my zone on there, so to speak, I went to a different place, is what I might describe it as. I now know many years later that this is what's called hyperfocus. And some of you as creators, you may know this already. If you don't know this, it's basically like when you get in the zone, when you're creating in your art, whatever it's like photography, music, whatever and stuff. When you get in the zone, you get into like this mental state of calm, so to speak, where you cannot do any wrong. And it's called hyperfocus. I used to do that in music without even knowing. I'd sit there and I'd play this guitar. Like my grandma helped me get a guitar back in the day too, in addition to giving me the camera. Long story. If you don't know the story about the camera, it's already here on YouTube. But I'd play that guitar till my fingers almost bled off or something like that, and that was my outlet basically. People when they saw me play, like all my family, friends, everybody, like said I went to this different place, and I never knew what they meant until I discovered what hyperfocus was. I'm somebody that like suffers with ADD or ADHD, I believe it is called. I've never been diagnosed, but I'm pretty damn sure I've got this. Um, there's many reasons for this. I had like a school counselor back in high school that said I probably suffered from this, but I was just like, fuck that. I don't have that. It's like I was like in denial or whatever it is. And so when you're in ADHD, you got to kind of convince yourself to get in the zone to do stuff that you have to do sometimes. And that's where hyperfocus comes in handy for me. I like mentally hack myself to get myself into a state where I'm ready to do something like responsible or like whatever I have to do in my life. Some people might just say, go do the thing. That's difficult for people like me. And if you have ADHD, you know what it's about because like sometimes you have distractions or like whatever, like the smallest sound. Like here, my wife and I have two cats and two dogs, and we also live in Columbia, which is a very noisy place. And so like the littlest sound can just throw me for a loop and throw me off my game. And so I've got like some soundproof headphones, and I've tried my best to go ahead and like write each day, like a journal every day. Sometimes I try to draw each day I can and stuff like that too, just to make something to get me into that hyper focused state of mind where I can focus on what I have to do and stuff like that. And so that's like another way that really like art has saved me, so to speak. It's helped me to deal with life in a way. And so what I'm getting at on here is there's a lot of people, I might say that like at least in my photography career, I've been a photographer now for 34 years. I have a grandma that gave me an age 10 camera, so to speak. When I was age 10, she gave me my first camera on my birthday. And long story short, that set me on a journey I wanted to dream of. But that's cool. That's like the Disney version of this. There's been a hell of a lot of ups and downs along the way. There's been times I was like hungry. There's been times that I didn't know what I was going to do next for work because I didn't have work lined up and stuff. There's been days that anxiety has eaten me alive, so to speak, as well. That's a real deal. Then there's like the other side of things. Like I did a show on ICP in New York with Sebastian Salgado. Like I got to befriend Robert Frank. I got to be the intern for Jordan Matter, which is still a good friend of mine out in Los Angeles and stuff like that. So like there's the good and there's also the bad. The real secret I'm getting at here with all this is that everybody wants to do the art and to do the thing, to do the hyper focus, to feel good about themselves. But nobody realizes what work actually goes into this and like what actually has to happen to sell yourself, so to speak. So what I think I'm getting at today on here with this ramble, rant, whatever, it's authentic, it is what it is. We'll call it a podcast, whatever you want to do, is basically like I have a lot of students, for example, that say, hey, I want to be a professional photographer. I'm like, that's cool. But when you want to be a professional photographer, sorry, I'm just getting a call in here as well. When you want to be a professional photographer, how are you going to support yourself is the first question I ask. And I also ask the big question of why do you want to be a professional photographer? And a lot of people are like stuck in a 9 to 5 and they want to do this on the weekends and make a little bit of extra money, pay for their $2,000, $3,000 cameras, whatever. That's cool. That's perfectly acceptable. But let's be real. Photography itself is about 200 years old now, and we're almost upon 200 years, yeah. And there's a lot of cameras in the world. Everybody and their uncle has a camera, and they want to be a photographer. They want to be recognized. They want to be famous, like whatever. I was just talking to my friend Dan Jenna on Facebook this morning. He posted a great photo of an Iranian couple, and they were like, "Oh, this is a great photo," like whatever. And he said, like, "I don't want to be famous with this, but that AdSense revenue or something like that." We were just joking around. I was just like, "Yeah, tell anybody these days, fall in love with photography or art for yourself first and foremost. You're not going to get famous with this, most likely. You're not going to really get paid a lot for it, most likely as well. I would keep the 9 to 5 and the thing that you're doing, pay the bills, and I would do art on the side for the love of it as your escape, basically. Keep it pure is what I might recommend. Because if you do it for money, like I'm doing stuff for money right now, like down here in Columbia, I've been teaching for a long while since 2022 when I had a remote tech support gig and I had another remote teaching gig that kind of fell through. I found myself on my ass with nothing to support my family. And what I did is I built up whatever I could. I took on as many teaching gigs as people would let me do. And I did this remotely. I did this in person here in Columbia. I started building websites for people. I've tried 42 different ideas since like August of 2022 to see what works. You throw the spaghetti at the wall, so to speak, and you see if it sticks. There's a ton of those that failed outright. I'm not going to lie to you and say, like, hey, like it was all awesome because it wasn't. There's a lot of things that sucked. And when I say that they sucked, it's like I put a lot of time and effort into it and money actually. And I lost it because it just didn't work on there. What I've learned since August of 2022, now that I'm in my almost mid 40s on here now, is that basically picking one thing that you're really good at and that makes a living basically and sticking to it is probably the best key on there. That's why I say at the moment. The reason being is like I find myself getting back to technology that pays the bills. That's what I did before I actually went back to art school in my early 30s to go ahead and get an art degree because I got laid off from a tech gig. I said, what am I going to do next? I had a oh shit moment because like I was a supervisor at a company and I saw like 60 people on the floor over the day. I made really good money doing that stuff. But then they laid me off. There's like downsizing, Six Sigma, like all that kind of stuff if you're in the corporate world and you know that stuff. And they're like, okay, we're going to let you go. I'm like, fuck, what do I do now? This is being real. This is being honest. YouTube, do not give me any problems. Like, I'm just keeping it real. And so, my then ex wife, like I say, gave me two options because I supported her through college. She's like, you could try to go back to college and better yourself, get a degree, and get a degree in something that you want to, or you could go ahead and try to find another soul sucking 9 to 5. And so I wasn't having the 9 to 5 thing, so I really wasn't happy in that job, even though I made really good money. And so I decided the art school route was the way to go. I had something in me to prove as well because, like, when I was a kid, my dad told me I couldn't go to art school because I wasn't going to make any money or all that kind of stuff. I know deep down he cared, and he still cares about this too. But like, yeah, there's certain thing like in a mentality, getting like a 9 to 5, doing it for 30 years, like whatever, retiring. Like, I don't know if that'll ever happen for my generation. Is what I might say about that. But anyways, like I had something in me to prove because I was told I couldn't do it, that I could do it. And so I went back to art school. I went through with flying colors. By junior year, I was already flying out to New York like on a lot of weekends. I was shooting for Condé Nast a couple out and then freelance gigs. And by the time graduation rolled around, I went to the stadium graduation and I just took a couple pictures just to say I was there. Had a little tiny celebration with my family, and I packed a U-Haul truck and moved 12 hours to New York. I was already ready to go. When I got to New York, I figured out that the gig life, so to speak, was not going to pay New York City rent. I had to get something steady, like steady paycheck on there, so that's how I actually got into teaching. I found a job on Craigslist of all places, And if y'all know Craigslist, it is a sketchy as fuck place, to be honest with you. I found a job on Craigslist, and they said, hey, you could come in, you could teach a class, it'll be for free, and you could kind of try out basically. And so I made myself a class. I made it on like exposure triangle and like all this technical stuff, like whatever. I went and I rocked that class, and I found out it wasn't about the technical stuff even. They liked my personality, is what it was. And so, like, my boss, she told me, like, my energy was the greatest thing about that on there. And she's like, just go ahead and take it down a little bit. Make it more simple, is what she said. And I thought about Jay Z as, like, I dumb down and double my dollars, or like whatever it was and stuff, because you think about this and, like, keep it simple. Like, people that were coming into those classes were like the after work crowd, and they wanted to just learn photography for fun. They weren't going to be professional photographers, they didn't want to be technical photographers. There's actually 16 different ways that people learn stuff in life. And so if you can relate to people on these levels of how they learn, like visual or audio or like writing and speaking and things like that, you can actually relate to a lot of people and stuff. So I figured this out pretty quick, and I got a gig there. And this led me to teach, like, I got invited to teach at NYU, like U of M, at Adorama. I've done countless workshops across the United States, and I've taught in 70 different countries nowadays, like remotely and like all this stuff that I've been through. And it's been an amazing ride because, like, connecting with all you as my students out there, if you're watching, I just want to say thank you. It's been one hell of an awesome ride, and I really, really, really appreciate y'all because you're the ones that give me the motivation and the inspiration to continue. And you keep me inspired, and I inspire you back. It's like a residual circle where we just kind of inspire each other and we find our way, is what I might say about that. Like, I never forget this guy, like Way, that came into my class one time in New York. He came in for a couple of days of darkroom with me, and I taught him darkroom. And then he goes off, and I didn't hear from him for a long, long while, and he didn't come back for any classes, like whatever. And he goes back to Taiwan, I believe it was, and he emails me about a year later with a couple pictures in an email. And I'm like, look at these pictures. They're like of a little girl. And I'm like, what's he doing? And then he just writes in his email, and he's like, I want to thank you, Charlie. I want to thank you because now I'm using the skills that you taught me in darkroom to photograph my newborn baby girl. I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing. That's just amazing because, like, I've sent people off in the world, like, y'all have seen my BBC interview with Kate Schoenbach. She was one of my students originally. She came into my class in Photoshop, inspired her. She became one of my interns for my kinetic book, all that good stuff as well. She learned video like in the time that she was doing my internship thing on there for kinetic because she had do behind the scenes kind of stuff for me. And we did a lot of video work together and we documented the process and all that good stuff. But she went on to shoot for BBC. I have other students that have gone on to do like really amazing things as well, like shooting for corporate gigs, for weddings, like all sorts of really cool stuff, like high end companies, like you name it, I've done it. And that's the thing is you put your idea into a person, you wrap up your idea into a person, and then you send it out in the world. This is what I wrote on the back of my first book. It was called Resonance. I found this quote, and I can't think of the author for the life of me right now. But look up that book, look at the back cover on there, and it says the best way to insert an idea into the world is to put it in a person. And so I give you all the gift of photography. I send you out in the world, and you make amazing things. Simple as that. And that's, again, going back to what I said earlier, that's where art personally saved me. It can save you too. You can find your way how you do it. And everybody's got their own journey, I might say, about this because you might look at somebody like me or like somebody like more well known than me even as well. And you might say, hey, I want to do it just like that. The real deal is you're never going to do it like that because your journey is different. You have to realize that there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be good days and bad days. There's going to be stuff that's just utter shit. There's going to be an amazing time as well. And that's the thing is you have to find your way. I'm going to sneeze again. Let's take a sip of coffee and see if that works. Ah. As I was saying before I got interrupted by the sneezes always happen in threes, by the way. And so I sneezed 3 times. There you go. Myth proven, whatever. Anyways, like I was saying, you got to find your way, is what I'm getting at. And what that is, you have to be not afraid to try. Because, like, there's stuff that will work and there's stuff that doesn't work. And that's what I was getting at on there. I've tried 42 different ideas between August 22 and right now. And there's a lot of stuff that's worked and there's a lot more that's failed. In fact, right now I'm actually taking all my projects and I'm going back to charlienaebeck.co instead of Coffee X cameras, instead of Mind Expand, like all these other projects that I started. Because, like, really, the honest answer, there's only 24 hours in a day, and there's one of me. And so, like, I only have a finite amount of energy, so to speak. And I have a family to boot, too, so I have to balance my time. And there's only 24 hours in the day, and there's only so much that you can do as one person. And so, if you've found your way, so to speak, or you found what you want to do, you have to figure out how to get there. And that's up to you. There's plenty of people like me that'll give you advice, and that's just it. It's advice, it's opinion, so to speak. You can take little bits and pieces of what I tell you. You can take little bits and pieces of like what our other people, other teachers, other mentors, other inspirational people tell you as well. And then you form your path and get out there and do your thing. That's what I'm getting at. There's so many people that want to be influencers and things like that. I'm going to say don't copy these people because like they don't know their from a hole in the ground is what I might say about it to be polite. There's nothing against those people that are making money doing that stuff out there, but they're all just trying to be as popular as possible. Why? To make money. Now, making money is one thing, but that's not going to last forever. In maybe 5 years, or maybe 1 year, maybe less than that, they're going to find themselves needing a real job. And what that is, I don't know. I can't tell them, so to speak. But that's what I'm saying is you got to build your skills. You got to be in a constant state of learning or something like that as well. I love learning myself. I've got a lot of different certifications. Like I say, I went back to art school and stuff in my early 30s, and after that, I went on a learning binge. I got certified as a front end developer, security analyst. I can do pro SEO, I can do business, I can do life coaching, like all these different things. I got certified to teach English as a second language when I come down here to Columbia as well. And so, like, that's the thing is never stop learning, never stop trying to better yourself. I have things over here trying to crash down on my desk at the moment, too. The world, oh, I don't know. Anyways, never stop trying to better yourself, is what I'm getting at. Because when you actually continue, that's when you find your way. You find what works and you find what doesn't work. How do you do that? You trust your head, your heart, and your gut. You listen to the opinions, but take them all with a grain of salt. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Take it all with a grain of salt. Because at the end of the day, if something works for you, it doesn't work for somebody else. You got to do that for you. That's what I'm getting at, you know? And creativity, I think, is a way to discover that. At least it's been for me. And when you get into creativity, try it all, see what works. Like I've tried a lot of different mediums over the years, and I learned like woodworking and metalsmithing over COVID lockdown, and that became my thing: is how to get out of there, is create something different in different mediums in there. My cat Boris wants to say hello to you all. He's trying to go ahead and get into a bunch of shenanigans today, is what I might say. But anyways, find your way, find yourself is what I'm getting at on there. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up since it's already about 25 minutes long or whatever, 24 minutes long, whatever it may be. But when you get into this, just go out in the world, throw the spaghetti at the wall, see if it sticks, is my advice to you. If you got questions about it, let's workshop it together as well. I'm not going to try to sell you all on this, but I do mentor people as well. You can go to my website on charlienaebeck.co, and I do this in photography, I do this in business, I do this in life coaching, I do this in anything like creating websites or businesses, whatever you want to do on there, basically. And so sometimes having a mentor is helpful too, because you can bounce ideas off somebody like me, and then I could go ahead and spit it back to you, and you can kind of re-enter it in a way that's manageable in your head. I do this trick also with journaling, like I talked about, because like when I journal, I dump stuff out of my head onto paper so I can organize it. Then I can re-enter it in my head on there. Journaling helps with this. Creating art helps with this. And also having a mentor helps with this big time. So 3 ideas for you to take and run. But anyways, like I say, I'm going to wrap this up because It's been 25 minutes, so is what I might say about this. I hope you all enjoy this little vlog podcast, whatever you want to call this. I'm keeping it real. I kept the cussing in here today because, quite honestly, I cuss like a sailor. But I try to keep it clean for YouTube because, like, I want y'all to learn and stuff and not to focus on all that other stuff, too. I'm going to put this up as a section of its own on here. We'll call it, like, creators letters or something like that. I think is what I've named it on here, like I name on my website or on charlienaebeck.co. Go check out the new projects too. I invite y'all over. It's charlienaebeck.co. You go on there now. You can take the classes of how to learn beginner photography quickly and easily. I've got a WordPress class up there, and I've got so many other classes I'd like to put up there. But like I say, only so much time in the day, and there's only one little old me. I'll get to it eventually. But in the meantime, I do have mentorship up there. You can check out my old photography work. I got my art up there as well and stuff, and you can just learn about things. So you're welcome. Drop me an email too, say hello, or drop me something in the comments to let me know who you are, like what you do and stuff as we do these like little real things in here as well. I'll do some more lessons coming up as well. Started out doing some free photography lessons on here. Those will be coming soon. I don't know when exactly because I got to get some time, like I say, and I got to balance other things with life. But soon. That's what I'm going to say about it soon. Anyways, take care of yourself. Go do the things. Go discover the world and live, is what I might say about this. I'll see you soon. Have a good day.